rap news, street politics, best hood channel on YouTube, and we back again with the deadliest gangs in the San Fernando Valley. Now, everybody that tapped into that first part of the San Fernando Valley, y'all seen us go to North Hollywood, Van Nuys, Sun Valley, and everything in between them sets, man, to cover a lot of dangerous hoods in the 818. And like I said before, we got over 30 sets, active sets, that's participating in the streets in the 818. This video, we going from Panorama City, that North Hills area, all the way up to Pacoima and San Fernando. We touching on the deadliest gangs in these sections, but you know, have y'all ever watched our videos and wondered how we get some of these guys' real names, addresses, locations, and really just personal information on some of the people that we speak on in our videos? Sometimes it's really just an easy search of Google. And that's why we gotta present to y'all our first sponsor on the channel. We got Aura, an all-inclusive identity protection platform with multi-credit bureau monitoring and VPN capabilities as well. With Aura, you can monitor your personal data, including your social security number, across billions of data points across the likes of Google and the dark web. You can also monitor public court records, and Aura can also alert you when somebody's trying to open up that credit card or that personal loan in your name, you know what I'm saying? And even if you miss them notifications about that new credit card that got opened up in your name, every adult that has Aura gets up to $1 million in identity theft insurance that covers eligible losses and fees. You can also opt out of all data broker sites, which will help you remove your personal information so somebody like our channel won't have your name and location in the video on YouTube for 100,000 people to see. And if you just want to be anonymous and search the web from the comfort of your home without being tracked, they also got the VPN service for safe browsing. Now, because we rap news, street politics, we got our own link, aura.com/RNSP. You get a free 14-day trial to try out all the services that they're offering with this platform. But remember, you gotta click the link below in the description box on this video to make sure you lock in that 14-day free trial. And you know, we gotta give a big shout out to our subscribers, man, boosting us up, getting real close to that 100K, man. Y'all stay tapped in with us, keep engaging with us on Instagram. Let's get it cracking. Now, the first hood that we're gonna start off with is a set that we low-key been mentioning a lot lately. It's gonna be Panorama City, Blythe Street, Terra.
Hey, look, homie, hold up. We switching them lanes, shitting on you lames. Give a fuck about a bitch with no brain. Giving you game, homie, man up. Get you a trap that you can manage. Watch out for the jack, stay strapped, ready for damage. Be savage, get you a stack, flip you a pack. Double that, homie, then you run it back.
Now, a lot of you may have heard about Blythe Street recently because of one of their notable members who had ties to the Mexican Mafia, Wicked. Some of you may know him as Ezekiel Romo, but nonetheless, man, Wicked had a name from this video that wasn't to be taken lightly while he was still alive. Now, Wicked was locked down behind them walls, man, but still controlling a lot of business for the Mexican Mafia with Blythe Street and conducting movements through this San Fernando Valley, man. It's pretty much said that this dude was putting hits out on just about anybody that rubbed him the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? From gang rivals, informants, drug addicts, and even members of his own hood. It was said that this dude was putting hits on just about everybody. But like I said, Wicked had a strong hold in the drug game in Panorama City. And all those things combined is why some say the Mexican Mafia removed this dude back in July 2024 in Sentinella prison, man. They poked him up, and Wicked is no longer a problem for these dudes in this neighborhood. But Blythe Street, they was popping way before Wicked had made that name for itself. And trust me, this hood is gonna be here ringing bells for a long time, man. Now, Blythe Street, they used to have a bigger neighborhood, but it's a lot of hoods that's around them that they've been beefing with, and their membership sometimes goes up and down. Mind you, like I said, they be in a lot of shit. That's what leads to that fluctuation in membership. But currently, east to west, they controlling everything from Sepulveda all the way to Van Nuys Boulevard. The middle of that is gonna be Roscoe Boulevard though, but then up to Parthenia. And Parthenia is gonna be arguably one of the most dangerous streets that we gonna speak on in this video. We're gonna get to it, especially in this Blythe Street area hood. But they're also gonna bleed past Parthenia along the river, and they gonna occupy this territory along with Ligget Street Gangsta Bloods, another hood that we gonna touch on in Panorama City. But like I said, this is Panorama City, and not too far from here, you got North Hills. This whole area, man, has been known to have an extremely high crime rate. If we just going off the numbers, man, it's said that your house is 300% more likely to be flocked, aka robbed, in this section if you don't have home security. 300 more times these dudes is flocking in this section. And on a grade scale of violent crime, they rate anywhere from a C- to a F between this Panorama City and Northeast Hill section.
A lot of people to think a certain way, like us, and they consider us a danger to them.
Gabriel is from Los Angeles. He's a member of a Hispanic gang called Blythe Street. He was imprisoned for crimes he committed as part of the gang.
I'm here for kidnapping.
Now, these dudes is known to wear that Boston Red Sox hat repping that B on it for Blythe Street, of course. And like I said, Parthenia is going to be a very active street next to this indoor swap meet, the Panorama City swap meet. Now, what we saw on here on Parthenia at the swap meet, man, not too long ago, we saw 4 people get shot, 1 man get killed in this section. That's right at the swap meet. On Christmas Day, a murder that we talked about was off Parthenia and Cedros in this section, where a young man lost his life, again, on Christmas with his family, hanging outside for a smoke break. Some dudes rode up to him and popped him right there. And then another murder not too far from here on Parthenia, the 8600 block of Parthenia, was really going to be Columbus Street hood, a hood we going to touch on. Another man was killed in broad daylight. Suspect fled on a scooter and peeled up out of there when he did his work. Again, Parthenia is an extremely dangerous street, especially over here by the swap meet, between this Blythe Street hood and the enemies that they beefing with. Now, like I said, Columbus Street is right here. They're going to be beefing with Columbus Street. They beefing with Langdon Street. And they've also been known to beef it with them Ligget Street Gangsta Bloods that's right across Parthenia from them as well. But like we spoke on when we touched on that Van Nuys video, man, a hood that they really going at it with is Varrio Van Nuys. It was said that Blythe Street broke off from Varrio Van Nuys, became their own set, and that's what started the beef between these dudes. Now, they also used to control the territory across the train tracks down to Satacoy. The Tijuana Locos tried to set up shop right there, and the Tijuana Locos is beefing with Blythe Street, and they beefing with Varrio Van Nuys. Now, really, Tijuana Locos is kind of fading away. They're not controlling a lot of territory, especially over here on Keswick. So this is like a fight for this territory between Blythe Street and Varrio Van Nuys right here. Now, Parthenia and Willis, again, is going to be a main hangout for these dudes, just the street over from where that dude was killed on Christmas, and also on Blythe Street as well. That's also going to be a main street and a hangout for these dudes. A lot of apartment buildings by the Andres and Maria Cardenas Rec Center. These dudes is right over here, man. Now, it was said that this hood started in the late 70s, again, a break off from BVN, but this is the first hood in the San Fernando Valley to be targeted with a gang injunction way back in 1993. Now, the injunction for these dudes became permanent in 2000, and that's due to the high crime rate and how these dudes is putting it down in this section. On Roscoe, Chase Street, these dudes is outside, Sepulveda Rec Center as well. They all over the place. Now, they got 6 main cliques in this section. They got Blythe, which includes the Chicos, the oldest clique, the Dukes, the Cyclones, the Rascals, and the Night Owls, which is going to be one of their newer cliques. But outside from them 6 cliques, they also got the Tiny Locos, Hispanics Most Wanted, and MKS. Now, they also recently had an indictment where 50 of their members went down on a nasty case that included, of course, drugs and murder. And recently, we just seen a chase that broke off not too far from here, where the marshals ended up taking down a murder suspect over here on Woodman, in between Satacoy and Roscoe, not too far from this area. Now, that area used to be controlled by Asian boys. You know, their presence has kind of died down in the valley. We know where their stronghold is, in that East Side Long Beach section. Now, along with these dudes being involved in some high-profile cases, they also do have a lot of structure in their hood. They beef with pretty much all Pacoima hoods, but they've also been known to beef with Vincenttown, 18th Street, Van Noen Street Locos, Violent Boys, North Hollywood Boys, Clanton, and the Asian boys, man. So they're not new to being involved in a lot of beef in their area. And like many hoods, especially the Varrios, they've been known to soak up a lot of cliques around them to boost their numbers. Now, between Panorama City and North Hill, these are some good dope blocks in this area, and they heavily patrolled, man. So this is why this area gets real dangerous and tricky. It's a lot going on in Panorama City. Now, you don't hear a lot about these dudes because sometimes they get overshadowed by Pacoima and Van Nuys, but as you can see, Panorama City, Blythe Street, Terra is nothing to play with in this area. Now, the next hood we gonna get to has some real history not too far from this Blythe Street area. West of Sepulveda from these dudes, we got Sepas Langdon Street, Terra.
There's nothing sweeter
Yeah.
than a motherfucking Langdon Street.
Malo, got the homie Dreamer and Negro. Yeah.
There's nothing sweeter
Going out to all the amigas out there.
than a motherfucking
Calabaza,
Langdon Street.
Bicicleta, Burro. Fuck all you fools.
Ayy, up in the foreign, now Sepulveda, I'm racing. The police get behind me, I guess it's a chase then. Push the foreign through the hood, I see the cops, I keep it moving. I ain't fucking with these rats on these ops. Stay 10 toes down, I'm never switching. All these rats around here, I swear they be snitching. And shout out to the great, my dog, he never folded. We out here taking shots and we ain't missing like
Now, when people see this hood, man, and they see that SP, you mostly like, man, what does that stand for? Is it South Pacoima? Does it have something to do with Panorama City being on their name? But really, it's that Sepas. There used to be a hood over here called Sepulveda that used to occupy this area before Langdon Street really got their feet in the game. But Sepulveda used to go by Sepas gang. They basically became Langdon Street. The older homies was soaked into Langdon Street. And this is how we have Sepas Langdon 13. Now, Langdon Street is also going to have a sizable territory in this area. Now, technically, this area would be North Hills, not Panorama City. But like I said, they just west of Sepulveda Boulevard, from Sepulveda to the other side of the 405 on Haskell. But I'm going to keep it real. For the most part, these dudes are going to be just bordering the 405, between Sepulveda and the 405. North to south, they're going from Nordhoff, another Deadliest Street up here, all the way down to like Roscoe, and a little bit past to Lanark Street. So they're not going to have a huge hood, but these dudes are extremely active over here off Langdon and Rayan, Langdon and Parthenia, and Orion, man. Like I said, against that 5 freeway, them Orion Garden Apartments by Langdon Elementary School, it's extremely active over here, man. And what we see from these hoods is the usual thing we see from like hoods in Pico Union, man. They love hitting up on the fruit trucks out here, man. Really marking their territory and making it known when their enemies is sliding down their block. You really see what hood you in when you over here. Now, Langdon and Chase is also going to be a very active set for these dudes. And Chase Street is going to bleed into their enemy's hood, Southside Columbus Street, as well. Now, both of them hoods, they have some crazy history together where they go back and forth with the gunplay, man. We just see multiple cases where these dudes is pretty much knocking each other down. And Langdon Street, Columbus Street, and Blythe Street is right on top of each other in this area. Now, aside from Columbus and Blythe, they also known to beef with Vincenttown and MS-13. And they do have a reputation, man, for being a grimy hood. Not too long ago, one of their homies, Lil Angel, went down for killing 2 Blythe Street members at a store in this area, man. So like I said, man, the gunplay is nothing new to Langdon Street, even though they're not controlling a large territory like some of the other hoods in the 818. But some of the cliques they got is the Schoolyard Boys, Tiny Locos, Pee-wees, Primo Heads, the Diablos, Tokers, Night Stalkers, and Traviesos. And they also known to wear them STL hats to rep that LST. But nonetheless, man, this is an old school set that's been around for a long time in this North Hills, Panorama City area, and they putting it down. Now, next up, man, we got to touch on their rivals, Southside Columbus Street 13.
Already know Young Grim is not tripping. I'm from the 818 where the pistols always play. Come through and I'll show you exactly where I stay. 8900 block, Columbus Street, the Gangsta Road. Everywhere we go, we got homies out there on patrol. We ain't slipping, now we keep it real.
Again, this hood is tucked right in between all of their enemies, from Langdon Street, Vincenttown, Blythe Street, and Ligget Street. Now, Vincenttown isn't really going to be that active anymore, but Columbus Street goes from Roscoe all the way up to Nordhoff Street, and east to west, Sepulveda all the way to the river for the most part, man, till about Sepulveda Rec Center. Now, their most active spots is going to be Burnett Avenue and Nordhoff Street, as well as the 9000 block of Columbus, Columbus and Nordhoff, and Columbus and Broadmoor Street. Now, again, this hood is also located in the North Hills community, and North Hills Community Park is going to be in their section, and it's also going to be a hangout for these dudes. And by that North Hills Community Park is where we said that other murder that happened on 8600 in Parthenia occurred, where a man was killed in broad daylight and the suspect was seen getting off on a scooter, man. So it's dangerous in this area no matter what time of day it's popping.
Yes, good afternoon, Susan. This is happening out on the 8600 block of Parthenia Place. LAPD received a call of a shot fired. They arrived on scene and found a man in his 40s, a Hispanic male, suffering from a gunshot wound. LAFD arrived on scene and tried to perform CPR on this gentleman, but unfortunately he passed away. So this is happening out here at Parthenia Place between Memory Park Avenue and actually Parthenia Street.
Now, these dudes is also known to wear that TC hat or that Cincinnati hat, just really repping that C for Columbus Street. And they've also been known to be responsible for one of Blythe Street homies getting killed up at Kester Park from that HMW clique. And they've also claimed that they was responsible for the murder of one of Langdon's homies, Payaso. Now, an interesting note that we seen about Columbus Street is some say this hood used to have some Crips in it. Now, I don't know how true that is. That may just be a rumor floating around, but we know the Bloods is right next to them in Ligget Street. But as of today, of course, they Columbus Street Teresa. And some of the cliques that they've known to have in this section are the Pequeños, the Maniacs, the Gangsters, Tiny Locos, the Hoodsters, and Roscoe Boulevard Gangsters. Now, being tucked into the middle of your enemy's hoods, you got to be putting in work, and that's what Columbus Street is doing, man. This is why they're one of the most dangerous gangs in the San Fernando Valley. Now, next up, we got a hood that a lot of people say they don't really see around the valley anymore, man. But we got up with some of these dudes, and they said they was outside. And when we peeped it, man, we did see some activity from Westside Ligget Street Gangsta Bloods in this Panorama City area.
Look at it! Get him one. 15 seconds. We gotta see something. 15 seconds. One, 2. Ligget Street.
Now, these dudes is really known to be closer to where a hood called Westside E-Dub Gangsta Bloods used to exist. E-Dub was never really a big set in Panorama City. They set really ran between Roscoe and Chase and between Van Nuys Boulevard and Woodman. But again, E-Dub is a hood that's moved further out to the desert, but Ligget Street is still gonna occupy this area.
Hey, look, hey. Whoa. Oh, this that. Hey, niggas 2D.
Now, they really gonna be by Wakefield and Chase, but they have been known to have bigger territory that's kind of being impeded on by their enemies, especially Blythe Street. So originally, they went from Parthenia all the way up to Plummer Street. And once you pass Nordoff, these dudes was going from Kester to Woodman. And they've occupied Albert Park, Tobias Avenue Park, and Sepulveda Rec Centers originally in their hood. But I think the expansion of Blythe Street, which also can sometimes go from Parthenia through Nordoff all the way up to Plummer Street, has low-key made it tough for these dudes to operate in that area, as well as making it tough for Blythe Street, especially with Columbus Street and Langdon Street all the way around here. So it's a lot going on in this Panorama City area. But the main cliques of Ligget Street is going to be the 8600 block and the 9200 block. And the interesting thing we saw about that 9200 block, we see them functioning with the Inglewood Family Gangsta Bloods repping that 9 Deuce Hood Day. So they do got connections with other Gangsta Bloods in the city, and they also been known to be tight-knit with them Pacoima Piru Bloods. Now, along with Blythe Street and Columbus Street being some enemies from them, they also beef with the 3-pack, OVG, Witset, and Dead End.
Split ends, nigga. Ligget Street blood, nigga.
Whoa! Bad homie. Now, a lot of people say Witset and them have had a deadly war, man, a real bloody war between both of them hoods. But Ligget Street is still one of the more deeper and active black hoods in the valley. Now, some other beef they've been known to have is with Canoga Park, Alabama, a hood whose name has been involved in some real racial tension in the valley. Ligget Street is not shied away, and they've been known to beef it with CPA as well. Now, this hood started around the late 80s, early 90s, and they originally weren't affiliated with Bloods or Crips. And a real reputable member that a lot of people have heard about from this section is a dude named Lunatic coming out of Westside Ligget Street. And I think at one point, Blythe Street and Ligget Street did coexist in a cordial manner until an isolated incident where somebody was saying where some dudes from Ligget Street had kind of pressed some old school dudes from Blythe Street, and that led to their beef over here in Panorama City, man. Now, most recently, we seen a real ominous murder in this section, man, off Van Nuys and Osborne, where it was said the dude was just riding his car at night, and some people across from this apartment building ended up seeing him pop his whole car up, killed him, and he crashed into the apartment building gate. Now, again, that was recently in Ligget Street and Blythe Street hood on Van Nuys and Osborne Street, man. So, again, it's very active and dangerous in Panorama City. Now, when you leave out this Panorama City, North Hills area, just northeast of this section, we got, man, arguably one of the most shadiest cities in the 818. We got Pacoima. Now, a dope fact about Pacoima is it was said that this was the first city in Los Angeles County that allowed people of color to purchase land and property right here in this San Fernando Valley, man. And it was said that this area, especially San Fernando, which is right across the 118 from Pacoima, has had a strong Hispanic presence before this was even land of America. So we know it's a lot of history in this section, man. But as it stands, for Pacoima in terms of violent crime, it's looking just like Panorama City, between the C- and the F on crimegrade.org. And it said that a crime here occurs every 1 hour and 49 minutes in this small section, man. And again, the same statistics with the flocking. Your house is about 300% more likely to get popped in by some dudes looking for your safe. Now, Pacoima, like I said, very small city, around 7 square miles, fully packed with nothing but gang activity. And we got to start it off with Southside Pacoima, or Paxton, which is said to be by far one of the largest barrios in the valley.
In the San Fernando Valley, a deadly shooting overnight in Pacoima. The LAPD says one man was killed near Woodcock Avenue and Brownwell Street.
Now, one reason P13 is so big is because the hood has been fragmented and there's pieces of it all across the city of Pacoima that still share that alliance with the original P13 set. Now, it was 3 original sets in the city of Pacoima to begin with, P13 being one of them, Latin Times being the second, and Pacoima Flats being the third original hood. Now, we see a lot more hoods out here. It was said that when these hoods started to form, those 3 original hoods was putting pressure on these dudes to really pick a side and form an alliance with one of the 3. So, man, it's nothing but beef that goes on in the street, high murder rate in this city of Pacoima. Now, P13 right now, one of their main sections is gonna be the Tiny Locos, man. Controlling, I would say, the biggest territory between all the hoods over here, and it's a lot of beef to show for it, man. These dudes is going from Hayden Avenue all the way to Glen Oaks Boulevard. And the strip out here, one of the main streets, which would be comparable to a Crenshaw or a Fig or a Cesar Chavez or Indiana in East LA, they got Van Nuys Boulevard. About 70% of the hoods out here border Van Nuys Boulevard, so you can only imagine how cracking that street is. The projects is gonna be over here. Everything is popping right here on Van Nuys Boulevard. But also with P13, they got like 20 cliques with what's said to be like with 50 members coming out of each clique. Now, these dudes is also said to be cool with Pacoima Paxton Street Locos and Brownstone Locos, 2 hoods that are going to be southwest of Hayden Avenue from this Tiny Locos area with P13. And they're also going to be clicked up with Pacoima Southside Locos, a hood that's right behind Pacoima Cayuga Street between Terra and Osborne. And across Osborne, Lil Pacoima 13 is also going to be tight-knit with P13. So this is what I'm saying with Pacoima 13 having a lot of membership and alliances in this Pacoima area. But the thing is, as these generations go on, sometimes a lot of history gets lost, just how it is when we were talking about Radford Street and CMK. These younger dudes is just trying to make a name for themselves. So sometimes they just gonna bump heads with anybody, no matter where you from and what kind of ties y'all OGs had in the past. Some of these hoods out here just ready to get cracking. Now, a lot of these Pacoima hoods you gonna see in this Pittsburgh gear repping that P. Pacoima is a very confusing place when trying to break down the origins of these hoods out here, how they form, who gets along, and who's beefing with each other. But it's a couple hoods out here that really just beef with everybody. But like I said, a lot of these sets really formed off them original 3. Now, a hood that's really beefing with these Tiny Locos over here is gonna be the Knock Knock Boys. We're gonna get to the Knock Knock Boys on the other side of the 5 in Arletta, but that's the hood that we see off Mercer and Hayden, really trying to beef it in them apartments with them Tiny Locos. But we also see P13 beefing it with Pacoima Crazy Boys, who's gonna be right on the other side of the 118 freeway, really bordering that Paxton Park area. They beefing it with Eastside Pacoima Terra Street, Van Nuys Boys, who's occupying them 9 apartments, and for sure they beefing with the Project Boys, aka Pacoima Flats, as well as 18th Street. And we also seen some Lennox wall banging over here, whacking out the Tiny Locos as well. Now, this hood really dates back to the 1950s, and they still have a lot of say-so in this Pacoima area now. Now, with that hood, Pacoima Southside Locos, they're gonna be very tight-knit with these Pacoima 13 Tiny Locos across Van Nuys Boulevard, but they still their own set, and they don't have any identity that goes along with any other Southside Locos hoods that we may see throughout other parts of the city. And like we said, Lil Pacoima is there too. Lil Pacoima is also gonna be tight-knit with these dudes, but they hood is not really as active as they used to be anymore in this area between Branford Street and Osborne Street, going from Hayden to San Fernando Road. That area is pretty much gonna be Latin Times at this point. And another notable thing about this section, they had 2 members that made it to California's Most Wanted, man. Jose Padilla and Felix Ugalde. Both of them dudes was putting in work and made it to the Most Wanted list in California. It just is what it is. But like we said, going back past Van Nuys Boulevard is 2 sets that we also gonna include in this P13 section that we spoke on before. We got Southside Pacoima Paxton Street Locos and Southside Pacoima Brown Street Locos.
18 at Pacoima here, boy, to shut that down.
Your hood to my hood, it's all the same. Them streeters and them locals and they all gang bang.
From my hood to your hood, it's all the same. The streeters and the locals and we all gang bang.
From your hood to my hood, it's all the same. Them streeters and them locals and they all gang bang.
From my hood to your hood, it's all the same. The streeters and the locals and we all gang bang.
Those 2 hoods are pretty much going to be synonymous at this point. So they really going from the 5 freeway all the way up to Hatton Avenue between Paxton Street and Van Nuys Boulevard. Now they occupy this area and they get active in this area. Richie Valens Rec Center is going to be a main hangout for these dudes, and they also connect under the tunnel going to Paxton Park as well, where the Pacoima Crazy Boys are. Now the CBZs also was known to break off from P13, but they going to be beefing it with these dudes now. And one thing for sure, we in the city of Pacoima, so we know PPB, Pacoima Piru Bloods is out here, the same hood Whack 100 is from. The Brownstone Locos is gonna have a rapper named Grincho coming out this section, and we seen him taking shots at Whack.
Here to let the whole hood know you like a snitch. I'm no boo-boo, you be doodle as I spit Pacoima voodoo. See some wounds in your future, cause I'm something like a guru. Talking about some politics, 30 years been off the yard. I'm a change man, your honor, cause this life was just too hard.
And of course, we know they beefing with PPB, but the thing is, man, these dudes had their hands in a lot more than just gangbanging between BSL and Paxton Street. If you know what I'm saying, man, they really involved in some street activities and they looking to get busy in this area. We seen a man killed over here in they hood off Laurel Canyon and Van Nuys Boulevard by the police, man, when he was trying to carjack people and really do his stuff, man. He was knocked down over here. Now, again, these sets are tied into the original Pacoima Treses, which had a clique called the Tinies and Locos, which was combined to make them Brownstone Locos. Now, a couple years back, we seen some crazy stuff happen in this area off Paula Avenue, which is a hot zone in this Tiny Loco set. We seen a 10-year-old little girl get shot along with 5 other dudes outside on Paula Avenue next to Glen Oaks. And we also seen a policeman get shot over here on Paxton near Glen Oaks. So, you know, this area, like I said, is extremely dangerous and it's going up all between Paxton Street and Van Nuys Boulevard. Now, a hood that's gonna have a crazy reputation right across Van Nuys Boulevard, right around this Tiny Loco P13 set, man, we got Southside Pacoima Project Boys, who are synonymous with Pacas Flats.
My lane, yeah, I'm getting hella cake, yeah, I'm getting hella face. Don't fuck with no fakes, all my niggas beat the case. If not do the race, we ain't take K. So fuck what you say, you know what I bang, we stay throwing J's. 40 pop out, now he running away. He said he knew me, but that nigga just stay lame. He ain't really with the gang, that nigga just claim. I'm a trans boy nigga, so I gotta keep that thing. I ain't new to the gang, but a bitch what you
Now, when I say Pacas, it's really just another way to say Pacoima, man. But the Project Boys is definitely one of the most active and deadly gangs in the whole San Fernando Valley. I say that because they run in a dangerous housing complex called the San Fernando Gardens. Now, this area, man, this is a spot that you do not want to get caught in. These dudes, they control the projects and they control the blocks outside the projects between Sutter Avenue all the way up to Herrick and Pierce Street to Van Nuys Boulevard. And these streets that are outside the projects, these dudes, like I said, they're going to be on Carl Street, Hoyt Street, and they're going to be all in the projects getting it cracking. And they're not afraid to come outside. This isn't one of them projects where you can get lost in for real. When you coming down Pierce Street, and a lot of shit comes down Pierce Street or Van Nuys, but really Pierce, which is the back end of their project, you're going to see these dudes just hanging out. You know, compared to the projects and Watch, you kind of got to bend a corner, you know what I'm saying, to really get up in there and run into some shit. But on Pierce Street, you can see the whole situation that's going down. Pearson Norris, Pearson Lehigh, Pearson Paula is cracking in this section, man. Now, there's been a lot of extremely televised murders that have went down in these projects, but most recently, it was a dude that was on the run from the folks, man, and he ended up pulling into these projects and jumped out with the pistol late night running through the projects, man. The police ended up killing this dude The footage is crazy, man. They knocked the dude down. Crazy situation. But this is not something that's new to these dudes over here in the projects. And like I said, they synonymous with Pacos Flats. Pacos Flats being one of the original Pacoima hoods in this area, but they're not the Project Boys. They one and the same though. And sometimes you see them repping both of them hoods interchangeably. You'll see the Flats, which is an older hood that doesn't really have, you know, much of them young members, but I think some of them young members from the Project Boys still like to pay homage to their OG homies in the Flats. They also gonna be at David Gonzalez Rec Center. That's gonna be right outside the projects as well. And they're gonna be entrenched in a lot of beef, man. The only allies I think they really known to have is with themselves, man, between the Flats and the Boys. They beefing with Pete 13. A crazy beef that was going on at one point down Piru Street was with Southside Pacoima Pierce Boys. They beefing with the Van Nuys Boys. They for sure beefing with the Pirus. They beefing with Terra, beefing with the Humprhrey Boys. And like the whole city of Pacoima, they beefing with Varrio San Fer, man. It's nothing new. But this neighborhood, extremely recognizable, hundreds of members. Not no 50 members, they not the 10 man, hundreds of members, and are very notable, especially when it comes to the likes of dudes that's linked in with the Mexican Mafia, like Huedo, Smooth, and Slick, who's running the program over here. Now, one of their members also made the news recently, was setting a woman on fire by Bakersfield, man. We seen a couple years back, he ended up setting his girlfriend on fire, just really going to a whole nother level with the shit. But just recently, we seen them actually go down for that murder that transpired in 2022. So we can tell these dudes is ruthless and they really looking to play ball with anybody at this point, not just their enemies. We also seen the young teen get killed over here at their basketball courts by 4 other young dudes. And a man was killed when driving down Sutter Avenue again on their blocks outside the projects, because like I said, they be outside block banging as well, man. Now, one thing for sure, in Pacoima, there is racial tension, man. The racial tension is really because of PPB being out here, man. None of these hoods is gonna get along with Pacoima Piru anymore. At one time, some hoods did. We're gonna talk about who it was, but the racial tension, man, it's almost at an all-time high. It's really cracking out here. Again, like I said, we've been out here, we've been in the projects, we function on some of these blocks, man. So we pretty much caught the vibe and the aura of this whole situation in Pacoima, and it's nothing to play with for real. And a couple of they cliques over here with the Project Boys are gonna be Cross Street and Los Pequeños. And 2 dudes named Pimps and Purple was also killed over here off Clark Street in Lehigh, again, in they blocks, not the project. Now, of course, these dudes, like I said, have ties to them higher up members that's locked behind them walls, man, so they involved in a lot of shit. We see the indictments coming down. We see the task force, the FBI sweeping through their hood. Most recently, the FBI swept up 10 members that was associated with both Project Boys and the Flats. And they always are subject of numerous gang sweeps. Like we said, we seen the cops just knock down somebody from their hood in their hood. And the reason why these dudes keep growing is because, like I said, with the Varrios, they like to soak up these cliques. And one of the biggest cliques that the Project Boys have soaked up was a clique called HPR. But nonetheless, man, this area is filled with nothing but destruction and murder, man. The projects over here is nothing to play with. One of the most dangerous projects in Los Angeles County. I'm gonna keep it real with you. Now, it's also gonna be a hood called Eastside Pacoima Pierce Boys 13. That's gonna be tucked in between Glen Oaks, where Terra and Van Nuys Boys are, and the projects over here, right next to David Gonzalez Park. Now, the Pierce Boys in this area by the David Gonzalez Rec Center used to be what I believe was kind of like neutral grounds between a few of the hoods out here, like the Flats, the Pierce Boys, the Pirus, and the Front Valley Street Crips, where a lot of different people used to stay in these projects and be at this rec center back in the day. But the Pierce Boys, whose main clique is the Young Gangsters, the YGS clique, this is gonna be a hood that's tucked in a lot of beef right next to these projects, but they not really as active as they used to be. Now, like I said, with Piru Street being the main street out here, running the same way as Van Nuys does, when you go up Pierce past Glen Oaks, you run into a lot of situations as well. One of them being Eastside Pacoima Terra Street 13. Now, Terra Street has really been extremely active, I say, within the last 15 years, man. These dudes is not playing around. And like I said, down Pierce, they beefing with the projects. They only a couple hundred yards away from the projects. So it's a lot of beef in this section. But Terra is controlling a lot of area over here, man. From Glen Oaks Boulevard all the way up to Foothill, between Pierce Street and Osborne Street, all the way down Terra. They really cracking over here, man. Now, this set was established like in the late 80s, early 90s, like with a lot of hoods. And it said that these dudes got about 60 to 100 members. They not the deepest hood, but they are out here putting it down, man. And one notable thing is they used to share this hood with PPB, Pacoima Piru Bloods. It's 3 hoods that's really over here, PPB and the Van Nuys boys. But Terra is going to operate outside of those Pierce Park apartments where the Van Nuys boys and PPB was known to really hang out and do their thing in. Now, it's said that this is really the battlegrounds in Pacoima. Due to, like I said, those 3 hoods right here, PPB being here, nobody's functioning with the Bloods out here. Humprhrey boys is across Van Nuys Boulevard. You got the projects and you got the P13s all surrounding this area. And even when you go south, keep going down Glen Oaks, you still have Pacoima Piru and the Latin Times down there, man. So this is another dangerous area in Pacoima. Like I said, it's only 7 square miles of this city, and we got extreme activity from these Pacoima hoods that's not playing around. Now, Terra and Foothill, they got some apartments up here that they controlling, really they stronghold. And if anybody knows Foothill, man, Foothill is a crazy long street stretching all the way out from the San Fernando Valley to the San Gabriel Valley, all the way to San Bernardino County, man. So Foothill is always gonna have some activity on it. Terra is one of them hoods, along with Varrio San Fer, the Humprhrey boys, Pacoima criminals that occupy Foothill Boulevard. Now, really, the beef really escalated to a point between Terra and the Project Boys like in 2008, when a member of the Project Boys named Jose Avila shot and killed a Terra member named Alejandro Villa. Now, Villa was convicted of the murder, and that made Terra really go on the offensive and try to up that score on the Project Boys, man. And it's been up, like I said, for almost 20 years. Extremely active between Terra and the Project Boys. And there has been documented murders from Terra on the Project Boys due to retaliation of what the Project Boys did to their member Alejandro, man. But most recently, we seen a gang shootout over here where a homeless man got caught in the middle of the crossfire right on Terra Street and Dronefield Avenue, man. Just some crazy stuff really popping in this area. But Terra is one of them hoods that you gotta stay out of between Glen Oaks and Foothill Boulevard, Terra Street. Now, to speak on them, you know, we got to speak on a hood that's usually been known to have some very large territory in Pacoima and pretty much hated by everybody in Pacoima and San Fer, and has enemies all the way from here to Van Nuys, Reseda, and North Hollywood. We got Eastside Pacoima Piru Bloods.
Bitch, I'm a bang man. Young to the shit, bitch, it's Paxton for real. Grammy red the great bitch, I'm not hard to kill. You better run when we come, I'ma show you how we feel. First nigga move on Piru, he getting drilled. I don't got no sympathy, you niggas gon' remember me. I do this for the ones who can't do it in a letter P. I ain't never duck no smoke, you know what's up with me. Trooping through the hood with the homies chunking up the beef.
Now, the thing is, the PPBs have been known to have some pretty expansive territory, but some say a lot of that's changed in recent times. But historically, they've been known to go from Glen Oaks Boulevard all the way past the 210 freeway up into these like suburban areas and shit. Everything past the 210, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's pretty nice stuff going on up there. It's not too much gang banging like we seen. Still some stuff be happening, but it's nothing like what happens on the south side of the 210 freeway with Foothill being the border. But a main clique of these is gonna be 12600 and 12700, the Nom Stars, man. They've always been said to be in these Pierce Park apartments. Now, it's another hood called Pacoima Van Nuys boys in the Pierce Park apartments. And they've also said to have a territory by Roger Jessup Park, and they've been known to occupy an area in the Sunland Park apartments. Now, real quick, them Sunland Park apartments, PPB's not really gonna be over there. That area is pretty much gentrified for the most part down Sunland Boulevard. I'm gonna keep it real. But where these dudes are going to be at is, like I said, still trying to occupy these Pierce Park apartments, but by Roger Jessup and Osborne Place between Norris Avenue and Glen Oaks Boulevard. Now, the thing is, with the Pierce Park apartments, it was said that the Van Nuys boys was one of the only Hispanic gangs that they got along with in Pacoima. And recently that relationship has kind of soured up due to a murder that transpired between them two hoods. And now it's war in them Nom apartments, man. And that's what they call the Vietnam apartments. This is why one of their main cliques is them Nom Stars. But they got several cliques spread out through Eastside Pacoima and Lakeview Terrace. Now, these dudes been around in Pacoima since the 80s. And again, because this was considered America's first black suburbs, with many black military veterans moving their families over here post-World War II in the 1940s. So this is how you have a black presence like this in Pacoima. But most of the black families that resided in Pacoima and once made up the majority of this area was moved out and replaced by Hispanic families, man. And this is how PPP was kind of migrated to only operating in these Pierce apartments off Glen Oaks Boulevard and Van Nuys Boulevard. But nonetheless, man, this is a reputable and active set, man. And this is where WAC 100 is from. You know, we spoke a lot about WAC 100 on this channel. No matter what we say about WAC 100 and how we feel about him, his hood is cracking. PPB is known to get active. They're known to participate heavily with their enemigos, man. That's one thing you can't take away from these dudes. And they one of the only black hoods left in the whole 818 Valley. It's less than 10 black hoods in the San Fernando Valley as it is. And like I said, they linked up with Ligget Street, and they've also known to try to push a line on 1st Street East Coast. But like we spoke on before, there hasn't really been a neighborhood Crip set that got fully established how they was in Aliso Village in terms of the East Coast. They was supposed to really be occupying them hills off Terra and Glen Oaks and DeHaven Avenue. But man, like I said, most of that is hills. Them are some nice houses right now. Defoe Avenue, Air Parkway. It's not really too much coast cripping going on over there. I'm gonna just keep it real. But the PPBs are still outside and they beefing with pretty much every other hood out here. They don't have no more allies in Pacoima after they fell out with the Van Nuys boys. And when I say everybody, man, I'm talking about they beefing with the Project Boys, they beefing with Latin Times, Southside Locos, Tiny Locos, for sure beefing with the Humprhrey boys, who's an active set across Van Nuys Boulevard. They also beefing with Brownstone, and they're gonna be beefing with Varrio San Fer, as we can see when Comparator dissed WAC 100 hood on No Jumper.
He's really soft, fool. Is he really from his set, fool? Like, I probably get more love in his own hood, fool. Whoa. If I pull up in his own hood, fool, in this project, I probably get more love. He's like soft like a ping pong ball, dog. Oh. Like that light and soft, dog.
It's still going up. Now, they also got a lot of rappers from here, man, and with that, they move around the city. They've also been known to beef with the 30s and the 100s and some LA hoods just because of their affiliation as some Piru Bloods. Now, this hood known to wear the Philly hats with that P on it. As we know, these is Pirus, but this is one of only few non-Compton Piru hoods and only one of 2 Piru blood gangs. And what I mean by that is when you look at the name, you see 2 P's and a B. They're Piru Bloods. Not just Bloods, not just Pirus. The only other hood that shares that with them is gonna be them 30 Rules in the low bottoms, man, who officially go by Eastside Rolling 30 Bloodstone Pirus. Now, it's also said that these dudes have been around Hanson Dam Rec Center, which is kind of a more recent hangout for these dudes. But because of their beef with the Van Nuys boys, there has been speculation about them migrating north towards that Lancaster, Palmdale area, like it said a lot of black hoods have been doing. But it's also said that there was one other, potentially other blood hood that was in this area. They're now a Sureño gang now, but Vine Street, which people claim was originally Vine Street Mafia Bloods. Now, I don't necessarily find it's hard to believe because Vine Street is known to have started separate from those big 3 hoods that we spoke on in Latin Times, P13, and the Flats. And they initially didn't get along with some of the Pacoima hoods, even though they didn't want to drop the Pacoima out of their name. But as we know now, Vine Street, which occupies the other side of the 118 freeway, next to the Pacoima criminals, they Vine Street Trece now. But as we spoke on with that beef with them and San Fer, it was said in 2003, a member from Pacoima Piru killed another member from Varrio San Fer, and this led to targeted attacks versus affiliated and non-affiliated blacks in this Pacoima Piru area. Like I said, racial tension is no joke in this area, man, especially when you one of the only black hoods that's standing and losing territory by the minute, you know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, PPB, active set in the 818 Valley, man. They still here, they still doing their thing in Pacoima. Now that takes us to a hood that I said PPB recently fell out with. We got Eastside Pacoima Van Nuys Boyz Trece.
My boy got his name, I was sliding on the J's on a block, posted up, I ain't never been on lane. 5, 6, 7, 8 shots to his brain. If you know who I am, yeah, you better keep your thing. Black ass hip hop shit, so don't slide and get hit. Bitch, you carry big blit, fuck around and catch a stick. At the end of the night, leave your body in the ditch, fuck around and get faded, finna come and fuck your bitch.
Now the Van Nuys boys, I would say other than the Pirus, man, this is probably one of the most hated gangs in Pacoima. And some say it's due to them having relationships at one point with the Pirus, being cool with the blacks. They falling out with all the other Sudaño gangs in Pacoima. Again, they main clique something similar to the PPB's 12700 block in them Nam apartments, man. And they also known as the Nam gang. Now they call Van Nuys boys, not because, again, we not in Van Nuys, but Van Nuys Boulevard and Glen Oaks is going to be their main cross section coming out of these Pierce Park apartments. Now, this is really their whole territory. Them apartments is really it. They going from Glen Oaks to Dronefield between Pierce Street and Van Nuys Boulevard. But again, most of that is going to be them Pierce Park apartments. But even with that being said, not too much block banging from this hood. These dudes are extremely active and not to be played with. And you have to be like that when everybody in the city's beefing with you. And the thing is, since they do control a large apartment building, they have a lot of members, man. They not a small hood. They do have numbers in these streets, and they are one of the larger hoods in the city, despite not having that much territory. Right across Pierce Street, as soon as you get out the apartments, they beefing with Terra. As soon as you come out the apartments and hit Van Nuys, they beefing with the Humprhrey boys. And as soon as you go down Pierce Street, when you come out the apartments, they beefing with the projects, man. So the Van Nuys boys really do be having a chip on their shoulder when they hit the streets of Pacoima. Now, this is a Sudaño hood, man, that's also known to rock red bandanas. I would say that's also due to the close ties that they had with the Pacoima Piru Bloods, man. A Sudaño hood with the red bandanas. We know it's a few hoods like Culver City, Harpies. It's a few hoods that really rep that, and Eastside Pacoima Van Nuys boys is one of them, further separating themselves from their Southside counterparts and probably leading to just even more beef when they hit these streets out here. Now, these dudes are known to have, like I said, a couple hundred members, real membership. And I think this situation between them and PPB happened in 2018 when a Pacoima Piru member killed somebody from the Van Nuys boys by the name of Gio. And it was said, allegedly, that these PPB members weren't necessarily from Pacoima. They came from up in the desert and came down to function with their homies and ended up popping this dude from Van Nuys boys, severing the alliance, and they didn't know what to do, ran up in the food for less like some goofies. But of course, we know that's all alleged information, man. But this is what's said to have led to the falling out between them Nam boys and the PPB gang. We've seen a lot of documented murders over here on Van Nuys Boulevard and Glen Oaks, and a lot of hoods is warring right here, and this is why it's called the Vietnam apartments in the Nam gang, man. Van Nuys boys is putting it down in this section. Now, two hoods that are across from the Van Nuys boys that's really beefing it right now with each other, man. We got Eastside Pacoima Humprhrey boys to that say, and Eastside Pacoima criminals to that say.
Yeah, I had a whole scene, keep cool and jog away. Nigga, I sense the wild ride, I'm blowing heads off a snake. I'm from 726, yes, pirate gang. If you ain't trying to drop nobody in crim, please don't hang. You ain't trying to spend no money, nigga, we is not the same. See the girl around my neck, come and quit with my thing. Break a sucker up quick, touch somebody with the flame. Stomp around in all the mud, nigga, I play inside the rain.
Now, the Humprhrey boys is going to be on the same side as all the other Pacoima hoods bordering Van Nuys Boulevard. These dudes going from Glen Oaks Boulevard to Foothill Boulevard, in between Paxton and Van Nuys Boulevard. And the Pacoima criminals are going to be going really with the 118 as a border all the way up to Arroyo Avenue, and also bordering Glen Oaks Boulevard and Foothill Boulevard. Now, the Humprhrey boys is also known to have a major beef with the Pacoima Piru Bloods as well as the Van Nuys boys. And it's said that this hood started around the 70s, and these dudes got about 80 to 100 members as well. So they still kind of deep on these streets, man, and they controlling a lot of blocks in this area. And one of their main spots that they be around when they not hitting up in the criminals hood is Hubert Humphrey Memorial Park. And they're going to be all through the back streets behind the park, man. But it's a couple streets that connect this hood to their most active enemy right now. Dronefield, Borden, and Glen Oaks is going to lead them right under the 118 freeway into Eastside Pacoima's criminal territory, where they really beefing with these dudes on Vine Street and Dronefield, Borden and Vine Street, all the way up to Arroyo, man. Now, the criminals is a smaller set, but in recent times, these dudes have really been picking up their activity and really playing ball in Pacoima. And where a lot of this beef is really bubbling up is by the San Fernando swap meet and Arroyo and Borden. Extremely active area. And it's said that these dudes also branched off of Pacoima to that say. As we said, Pacoima 13 has a lot of hands in a lot of different situations in this hood. But I believe this hood right now is not seeing eye to eye with the other hoods that branched off P13 due to them having just young active members that's looking to make a name for themselves right now. Now, recently we seen a man killed over here in this criminals hood, really bordering this Vine Street hood by Glen Oaks, man. And Vine Street It's right across Glen Oaks from this hood. But Vine Street really is not going to be as active and really participating in that war that the Humprhrey boys and the criminals got going on right now. But one interesting thing, man, right around this border of Vine Street, there did used to be a Crip set, Eastside Front Street Valley Crips. Now this set isn't here anymore, so it's not much to say about these dudes, but this just shows how these Crip and Blood sets are not really lasting in the Valley, man. Especially, it's more than likely due to PPB putting it down, also with them being in the middle of P13's hood. Now, another alliance that we have in Pacoima is going to be one with one of the oldest sets around and some hoods that's surrounding in the areas. We got Southside Latin Times Pacoima 13.
Latin Time gang, homie. You already know what time it is. Latin Time.
Now, like I said, Latin Times is one of them big three hoods that originally occupied Pacoima. Now, Latin Times, man, with that being said, they involved in some heavy extortion in their areas around Osborne and Laurel Canyon, man. They really be shaking dudes down and they playing ball. They not really hanging outside like that. You don't see these dudes block banging and tagging up their whole area, but you could tell when you over here in their hood, in their main hood, it's extremely cracking. This area is going to go from the 5 freeway. The middle of it is going to be Laurel Canyon, but it's going to go from the 5 to Hayden Avenue. And then they have a section over here by Roger Jessup Park where the PPBs are as well, between Norris and San Fernando Road and Montauk and Osborne Street. But again, this is also a very large hood, and they cool with the Southside Pacoima Knock Knock Boys and Southside Cayuga Street. Now, most notably, they soaked up a clique called TDS, which was a tag banging crew. You know, the same kind of crew that we touched on with Drex the Joint and that whole situation. Latin Times picked one of these dudes up, and this is how these hoods continue to grow and have membership flourish in a section. But Cago Canyon and Laurel Canyon is also going to be some heavy stomping area for the Latin Times, man. Now, this hood got about 160 documented members in it, but again, they're not one of these hoods that you're going to see hanging out outside. They really just trying to get money in this section, but they are playing ball and they are extremely dangerous in this area. And they do have ties to some high-ranking members in the Mexican Mafia, like a lot of these hoods out here do. But with that being said, another hood that they beefing with is the Project Boys, as well as P13. So they're going to be beefing with SSL, Paxton, and the Brownstone Locos. But in 2015, 2 members from the Project Boys, one of them being Flacco, killed a member from Latin Times named Spider-Man. And that's just more fuel to the fire between Latin Times, the Project Boys, and even the Pacas Flats, who are allied with the Project Boys. And like we said, Latin Times is also going to be tight in with the Knock Knock Boys as well. Now, I know a lot of y'all wondering what is going on with the Knock Knock Boys. How did they get that name? Southside Pacoima Knock Knock Boys, and it's said that they got it because they come knocking at your door with the beef, man. That's just what it is. Now, they technically on the other side of the 5 in a city called Arleta, but they rock Pacoima, man. Now, they have a sizable territory going all the way from Osborne Street up to Paxton Street, bordering the 5 and Arleta Avenue. Now, we also said they was cool with Terra, so not only are they cool with Latin Times, Terra, but also Cayuga Street, and they really beefing it right here on Van Nuys Boulevard with these Paxton Street Locos and Brownstone Locos, as well as the rest of P13 up Van Nuys Boulevard. Now, these dudes is also said to have about 80 to 100 members in their section as well. And they've been known to beef it heavy with the Violent Boys, who we told y'all VBS is beefing with everything Pacoima. But this is a Pacoima hood that's probably going to be closest to VBS being on the other side of the 5, along with Latin Times. Now, mostly we see these dudes really active on that Sharp Avenue area where them tunnels are that connect this side of the 5 to the other side. They really active over here, man. But we seen a couple murders, man. We seen one over here off Starwood a couple years back, but an extremely nasty murder did occur over here right outside their hood on the border of these dudes and Southside Nonstop Locos hood, where a man that killed a woman in front of her baby, man. Just some crazy stuff that's going on in this side of town, man. It's not a game to be played with in this Pacoima area. But the Knock Knock Boys, Latin Times, Cayuga Street, they are still cracking and active in Pacoima. Now, the next hood we're going to speak on truly claims to be the oldest barrio in the valley, man, which is disputed by everyone else, as you can see, especially disputed from all the hoods in Pacoima like P13, Latin Times. But we got Southside Varrio San Fer 13.
Look, I pray for better days. I was on the block cause crime pays. Don't make me hit the switch and hit your dumb ass in the face. You a lame, I'm caught up in this life, don't think I'll change. Put some bullets in your body, now tell me, can you relate? No, you can't, cause bitch, I fell deep up in the game. From a city where you learn to shoot before you catch a fade. It's a shame, but fuck it, cause
Now we got a shout out Comparator, man. He's always showing support to the channel. This is hood right here. We got to put these dudes on the map. But not just because of that, it's because these dudes are active. And they, like we said before, are definitely in the conversation of the top 5 largest territorial hoods in the San Fernando Valley. Now, these dudes have a lot of old tradition. Like we said, a lot of migrants came to this area, man, and these dudes have been around here for a long time. But one most notable thing is they have a true city rivalry between them and Pacoima. They beefing with everything in Pacoima. Now, it was said that there were some Hispanic ranchers that occupied this San Fer area, and they own some horses as well as some land. Now, it said dudes from Pacoima came and stole one of the horses from San Fer, refused to give it back, and that's how the beef started between San Fer and Pacoima. Now, I've heard that story go interchangeable, where the dudes from Pacoima had a horse and San Fer stole it. You know, that's going to be something that's going to be up for debate for centuries, I'm sure. But that's just what the story is between how old, and you can tell how old it is, with the beef between San Fernando and the city of Pacoima. Now, Varrio San Fer is known to wear them Giants hats, man, them San Francisco Giants hats, repping that big ass F on it. And most recently, man, some of these dudes have came under scrutiny with the Mexican Mafia. Not too long ago, a member named Fly was just took out from them dudes, and he was just made. Maybe between some disagreements as to who was collecting taxes on a specific turf. Somebody got killed over it, and it is what it is. But again, this is an old school hood that has ties to a lot of big players in the game, if you know what I'm saying. Now, an interesting thing, it was also said that MS-13 tried to set up shop out here in this San Fernando Silmar area, but they weren't successful. But you can see why they tried. Their territory is huge. They really stretching from freeway to freeway, from the 5 to the 210, and they occupying Silmar and San Fernando, with their hoods really stopping where them 3 Pacoima hoods start: Vine Street, Crazy Boys, and the Criminals, and going all the way up to Roxford Street, where it's kind of like a no man's land past that. But where we see these dudes really active, man, is up there by Foothill. They definitely beef it up there with a hood that's also occupied the area in Astoria Garden Locos 13. Now, Astoria Street, they claim to still have territory up here, going from Foothill down to Borden Avenue, Silmar Park, between Polk Street and Hubbard Street. But man, it's been said that these dudes is dying out, man. You can see why. They tucked right in between all of San Fer's territory, man. And it's hard for these dudes to breathe is what it's looking like. Astoria Street, Drone Field, very active. Astoria Street, Bromont, extremely active. But really, them Astoria Gardens on Astoria Street is where these dudes are, but we also see Varrio San Fer around here as well. Now, most of this territory that San Fer occupies is going to be a lot of residential areas, some nice houses. So really, it gets kind of gutter in this Astoria Gardens Foothill area. I'm going to keep it real. And like I said, these dudes did come under scrutiny with PPB when they was said that they was attacking affiliates and non-affiliates, just blacks period, in that PPB area. It's no different from Pacoima, with the racial tension still high, and it makes it no better when it's a Pacoima hood beefing with Varrio San Fer, the longest standing rivalry in the San Fernando Valley. Now, they've also been known to spread to Antelope Valley and the High Desert, and they do have a lot of influence, man, and say so in this section. But nonetheless, man, this was part 2 of our San Fernando Valley, the 818 deadliest gangs in these cities, man. Next up, we dropping Canoga Park in that Reseda area. It's some real gangbanging that's popping in that area too, man. Y'all make sure y'all stay locked in with us, stay rocking with the channel. Y'all make sure y'all click that link, aura.com/RNSP, get that free trial. Let's keep rocking with it, man. Rap, news, street politics, best hood channel on YouTube.